Hey, what's going on, people? Today I'll be checking out Andrew Tate for the very first time, and I'm looking forward to this reaction, even though it's been a while since I've uploaded any content. A few of the young men that I mentor have suggested that I check him out and share my thoughts with them on him. Not really sure what to expect, but I have seen his name all over my suggested videos feed, so.
Money isn't real. If you know what you have, you don't have much. And once you reach a certain level of money, you don't even know what you have.
Money isn't real. Once you reach a certain level of money, you don't have much. What does that mean?
If you know what you have, you don't have much. And once you reach a certain level of money, you don't even know what you have. And you certainly don't own what you have.
Once you reach a certain level of money, I think he means wealth. You don't know what you have and you don't own what you have. Tell that to Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. They are very familiar with what's in their portfolio and what their investments are.
Outside entities, which you may have a stake in, own what you have. People who have a lot of money understand. It's very difficult for me to even say how much money I have, but I can have anything I want, anytime I want.
Hi, I'm CHIAN Reynolds and I'm still on the lookout. I've had some good dates.
Oh, I've seen her interview. I don't know if we could really call these dates. They seem more like skits to me, but I remember watching her in an ABBA and Preach video.
And I've had some bad dates. How do you think you've done on the date?
I don't really give a shit. I'm not gonna lie, bruv.
Where
This was the
are
one.
the
Yeah, that was the guy. He was kind of funny.
How do you think you've done on the date?
I don't really give a shit. I'm not gonna lie, bruv.
Where are all the decent men? Not in my DMs, that's for sure.
You get me? I feel like I'm rolling with the man then. What's going on? 95s.
It seems like a lot of men don't know how to treat a lady.
Don't know how to treat a lady. I think she's playing on gender stereotypes right now. Most men don't know how to treat a lady. But it seems like it's all in good fun because obviously she's an actress and these are not real dates, right?
Will I have better luck this season? What would you do if my ex was after you?
He can have you.
Let's find out. This is grilling.
I'm Andrew Tate the Third. I'm here because I was invited. Is that a good answer?
That's fine.
Yeah, I was invited. So I thought I'd come along. Why not? There's already love in the universe. I've already found love. I found love with reality, my friend. I'm already in love. I'm in love with waking up every day. You know, there's people who are trying to stop me breathing and they've yet to succeed. I'm already in love. Life's great. I used to think that it was the man, and I was actually accurate, thinking that it was the man who was selling himself to the woman. But once you reach a certain level of achievement as a man, it's the woman who's trying to sell herself to you. I've handled a bunch of difficult situations in my life.
Something tells me that the words that come out of his mouth are purely improvised and he doesn't give a lot of thought to them. So I'm not sure how much substance I can expect.
I'm not intimidated. Let's leave it at that. We'll see how it goes. I would say I'm pretty confident, yeah, overall. Yeah, I think confidence is born from adversity, right? Everything that doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Can CHIAN ask you whatever she likes?
Anything she likes, find the most difficult question on the planet, tell her to throw her question card away, write a new one. I'm ready. I better be good. I better struggle, which is obviously impossible. So she should at least try to make me struggle.
I'm sensing a slight British accent when he says better.
I'm not scared of her. I think relationships
But it's
are
like a
beautiful.
hybrid between an English American accent and a British accent. So I don't know if he's lived both in the UK and in the States for extended periods of time.
I think that the synergy between men and women are a beautiful thing if they are correctly collaborated. I think that that's what makes society function. I think that's what makes the world function. I think that men and women falling in love and having children and having families are very, very beautiful things as long as it's done correctly. As long as the woman obeys like she's supposed to.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right. So I'm getting strong pickup artist vibes right now. And like most pickup artists, what he does is introduce the truth, which is when two people meet each other and they click, that can create a beautiful synergy that makes the world a better place to live. He introduces that truth and then he leads us to the terms and conditions under which that truth can manifest. According to him, it is when a woman obeys the man. So we see that transition from, a relatively benign normative statement which is it's great when two people connect romantically and create lifelong bonds with one another, so long as it happens under these very narrow conditions.
I think the world can be a beautiful place as long as gender roles are not misconstrued and misunderstood. So if Sean doesn't understand that, I'll correct her quickly and we'll fix the world and we can move on.
Yeah, so I think there's arrogance in his tone. And when I say arrogance, I mean the combination of ignorance, right? Lack of knowing, and ego. This notion that I have to be right and that my word is the last word. So not a lot of humility here. He doesn't open himself up to the idea that his philosophy could be wrong. And I think we could benefit from living in a society where people admit that at the very least, they could be wrong.
Very nice to meet you.
Hello.
Hi.
That's really nice.
Thank you. Let's do two kisses. 1, 2.
Oh, very nice to meet you. What's
Very
your
nice to
name?
meet you. Andrew Tate. What's your name?
Andrew. Nice to meet you. CHIAN.
Cheyenne.
Or CHIAN Reynolds, if you're doing this whole stuff.
Cheyenne Reynolds. We're
Yeah.
gonna do official.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Cheers.
Yeah, so he gives off charming vibes. He smiles a lot. 2 kisses on the cheek.
I think she's an attractive woman. She's good looking. Friendly demeanor.
He's able to keep eye contact. The one thing that I would recommend, especially for those of you who aren't self-proclaimed millionaires, is don't wear glasses inside. You're going to come off as a fuck boy and you're going to repel women.
I think she's an attractive woman. She's good looking. Friendly demeanor. I can tell she thinks she knows things, so I look forward to correcting her. But that's usually how life works.
Finally, see? A man that makes an effort. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah? Okay, where are you from?
I'm American, but I lived in England for a long time.
Okay.
I lived in a very prestigious part of the UK. I don't know if you've ever heard of Luton.
Very
Prestigious.
yeah.
Yeah, number 1.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many people introduce themselves as living in a prestigious area. That's like saying, I'm from New York, a very prestigious state. It's like, I guess, but I don't know if that's how you apply that definition.
Yeah, number 1.
Luton. Okay. Was not expecting that.
So I was in Luton for a while, and now I live in Europe, so I've just come in, yeah.
Okay, because your accent, it's like really different, isn't it?
It's pretty mixed up. I'm like a street dog, my dear. I've been here, I've been there. Half American, half English, half Luton, half everything else.
A bit of a mix.
Bit of a mix.
That's cool.
Already he's starting the conversation off fairly normal. You know, he's telling her where he's from, giving her a little bit of his biography, why he speaks the way he does. And from the outside looking in, I would say that he strikes me as an interesting individual.
I flew in this morning.
Flew in. It's different. Something different.
Yeah. Jump on the jet.
You flew in on a jet. Who is this guy?
Yeah, flew in on a jet. So he's throwing a lot of status signals out there right now, and that's usually what people do when they're not confident in their own skin, like with who they are and what they have to offer as far as their personality is concerned. People who have like hollow personalities tend to resort to shock value or status signals to impress people and keep them engaged. It's not something I would necessarily recommend. Just based on my education, where I've been and what I've done in my life, I've noticed that when women find out who you are organically, as opposed to you just laying all of your cards on the table. I'm rich. I come from a prestigious city. Like when women find those things out over time, you reduce the risk of ending up with a gold digger because you're not leading with your power, status, and prestige. You're leading with who you are. You're putting yourself on the table and saying, this is me. And that tends to filter out gold diggers and women who might be attracted to you for the wrong reasons. But when you lead with, hey, I just got off the jet and I make a lot of money, you're gonna net a lot of women because women more often than not are looking for safety and security, but you might net the wrong women. So guys out there, do not lead with that.
What about you? You have a mix, no?
Yeah, my family, we're Caribbean and English.
So the Caribbean side's the crazy side? Or the English side's the crazy side?
I'd say the Caribbean's the fun side.
Fun
a bit
side?
spice.
So you're fun and crazy.
Not crazy.
I mean, it's the beginning of the day, you can't lie.
Do I?
It's interesting how he's trying to like impose a certain quality onto her based on where she's from. Now, he's doing it in a playful way, but I'm wondering if it's a sign of things to come.
So you're fun and crazy.
Not crazy.
I mean, it's the beginning of the day, you can't lie.
Do I look like I'd lie to you?
Yes.
I'm not a liar, actually.
You're not a liar. Everything you tell me for the rest of this episode is going to be a complete truth.
Yeah.
Promise me. Yeah. Say I promise.
I promise. No, I really promise.
We'll see.
All honest thoughts and opinions.
Most women at this point, and of course, this is not a date. Just a reminder, this is an actual skit. But if this were a date, most women would be kind of creeped out by that. Because when you're pressing a woman that you just met about honesty and you're, I guess, questioning her integrity, she's gonna be like, what the like, what's with this guy? Women like when you kind of like poke and prod at them a little bit in a fun and playful way. I would recommend that you pick your spots on the first few dates and try not to cross that line, because once you do, you might never get them back. They might just dip. Now, of course, someone like Andrew Tate, he might be able to get away with doing this on a first date, but the average guy, you or I, yeah, we can't get away with this shit.
So what do you do?
Let me think of a lie. Give me a second.
No, you can't lie.
You have to tell the truth. I don't have to tell the truth.
Why?
We already agreed you're telling the truth. There's only one of us can tell the truth. One of us can lie.
That's not good stuff.
I'm a shoe salesman. I sell shoes, socks, shoe accessories, polish, etc., etc.
Yeah?
Yeah, I sell shoes. Yeah.
You good at it?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah?
I'm surviving. Sold 2 pairs of shoes yesterday. Life's good.
Okay, that's good. He's a liar. So tell me a bit about you, Andrew.
I'm not.
I mean, if that's true and he's a shoe salesman, fair enough. But if he's just saying that to say that, to kind of throw her off kilter, again, I would not lead in my dates with lies, right? Because eventually the real you is going to come out, and the woman that you're with is going to be caught off guard, and that's going to scare her away. So whoever you are, be that on the first date. You know, of course you want to put your best foot forward and make a good impression, but ultimately you want to be authentic and comfortable with your own skin, whether or not you're in the presence of a woman. Shouldn't make a difference, although it does. And a lot of men out here are slaves to what women think about them. And so when we find ourselves around women, sometimes we will act differently or try to be more suave, or overcompensate for certain shortcomings we feel we have. But a remedy for that would just be self-love and self-care. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily indulging in life's pleasures without giving it any thought, but understanding that no matter who you are, where you are, and what you have worth, you have value, and that that value is inherent. Although there are certain things that you can do and certain things that you can say to diminish that value.
He's a liar. So tell me a bit about you, Andrew.
I'm not comfortable opening up too much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you might work for John Law and the government.
No.
I have to be careful what I say.
Oh, so it's not commitment issues?
That's not commitment issues. It's more just like legality issues.
Oh, okay.
It sounds like commitment issues to me. I'm reading this in the context of it's a skit, but if he were not playing a character and this were just like a regular dude, these are the vibes that I would pick up on and call out.
Church, I'm a man of God, play Scrabble.
Do you have faith?
Okay, this is good. This is an interesting conversation that we can have on camera, which is.
I'd say my personal journey with God is between me and God. So I'm not one of those people that is like, yes, I go to church, or yes, I do this.
Don't you think that's a bit like lazy Christianity?
No, not really, because for me, I believe in love and I believe in faith, and I don't think it's just one religion that you need to follow. I've got friends that are Muslim.
I agree.
I've got friends that are Christian. I've got friends that are spiritual, so I don't put myself in one category.
I understand and I respect that completely, but don't you think respect for God himself, whether you're in Dubai and you go to the mosque, or you're in England, you go to the church, you should get up early on a Sunday despite all the booze.
Right. So this is interesting. She actually breaks character herself and shares information that's deeply intimate about her life and what she believes and what she values. And Andrew says, yeah, I respect what you're saying. I respect what you're saying. Makes sense. But don't you think, and this is the second time he's done that, so you could tell that as she's speaking to him, the information isn't necessarily computing in his head. He's just catching little bits and drawing his own conclusions based on the limited information he's allowing to enter his mind. So I wouldn't necessarily categorize him as what you would refer to as an active listener. I think he listens to respond as opposed to listening to understand.
And get up and take an hour out of your life and just show some respect. Don't you
No,
agree?
because everyone's journey is with God is personal.
You can be a lazy spiritualist, a lazy Christian, you can be a lazy kickboxer, right? I'm a kickboxer, but I don't train. Okay, bro. I understand. You're lazy. It's okay.
I'm not lazy. Do you have time for God?
Yeah, so we're 6 minutes through the date and he's already intimated that she's a liar, she's lazy, and that she's crazy. Guys, don't pull this shit. If your goal is to repel women and stay a virgin, then do everything that he's doing right now. But if your goal is to communicate effectively with a woman and persuade her into being your mate, then I would highly recommend that you take where he's at, which is at a 9 right now in terms of sheer arrogance. Turn it down to about a 3.
That's good. Do you get up early on a Sunday?
Completely.
That's good.
Every single Sunday. Of course.
That's amazing.
And I think that being religious is a beautiful thing, and I think that a lot of people try and say they're spiritual or they're religious in a way, copping out on the 1 hour a week. It just feels a bit lazy to me. I think you can always find an hour a week.
Yeah. No, you definitely could.
So maybe God sent me here to make you go to church.
Maybe. Maybe you're here to enlighten me.
Maybe that's why, yeah.
Yeah.
This conversation, he's treating it like a fucking competition. And that's another thing you don't want to be doing with your partner, is always trying to like one up them. Yeah, because he's like, well, my beliefs are superior to yours because I practice spirituality more than 1 hour a week. I work hard at developing my spiritual tools, but you, on the other hand, are lazy. That's usually like how you make someone feel like shit. And I don't know why the fuck you would want to make someone feel like shit, especially on a first date.
What kind of man are you?
What's the spectrum? I need you to quantify it for
Baby,
me.
do you even have to ask?
Bottom and who's at the top?
For me, I'd just say top, like a high value man.
What would you say constitutes a high value man?
A high value man is someone that is successful
Okay.
financially.
Okay.
I'd say it's someone that's got a lot of integrity and good morals.
Yeah.
That is very well respected, is very sure of himself, but also is a very family orientated man. That's for me a high value man.
Okay, it's fine. I'm a high value baby.
Yeah, so I have so many problems with these kind of red pill definitions and terminologies that are used by a lot of people on the internet to advance their own caricature of who a man or who a woman should be. Sure, these are things that everyone should strive towards, but human beings are not perfect. The overwhelming majority of us are not gonna fit those categories. Since life is so, what's the word I'm looking for? Cyclical, there are gonna be moments where we are financially successful and, you know, a business deal might not go the way we plan. A medical emergency might pop up, which requires us to drain our life savings. And all of a sudden, our finances are not where they were before. But that doesn't mean you're no longer a high value man. I think the way in which you value yourself should not be dictated by societal norms and standards that women or men set for you. I think value is something that has to come from within.
So what's a high value man for you?
Pretty much basically what you said. I think a high value man is a capable man. I think capability can be judged in many different ways, and capability is something which varies depending on the situation. You need a man who is capable of doing lots of different things that he doesn't do very often. You need a man who's capable of being violent when the time appears. Of course, you need a man who's capable of making money. You need a man who can kill somebody and hold
Yeah, so he's basically describing who he believes himself to be. He's like, all right, so you need a man with a bald head. You need a man with glasses. You need a man who wears tight blazers that fit perfectly on his bulging muscles. This is the type of man that you need. So these conversations, I don't really find them interesting. High value man. It's like, instead of talking about like what a high value man or what a high value woman is, just talk to each other about each other. Have a normal fucking conversation, you know? And at the end of it, you'll probably know whether or not you want to move forward with that person. But these conversations will turn women off, like, well, the right women, because this is like internet talk. They're having this conversation right here for the internet. This is not usually what's talked about on like first dates.
Actually, what the most difficult thing about being a man is, most people, when I say most people, let me change that. Most females don't respect how difficult it is to become a high value man. Because to become a high value man, you need to have...
Most females don't respect how difficult it is to become a high value man. I guess based on what evidence? I don't know where he's getting these assumptions from, other than his anecdotal life experiences and the way he perceives women. But he speaks in such absolutes, which makes you think that everything he's saying is God's word, when it's not. It's the thoughts and opinions of one single man.
Need to be funny and smart and charismatic and interesting.
No, you don't need to be those things. There are plenty of guys who are not funny or smart or charismatic, and they do all right for themselves, and they live relatively happy existences. But placing these artificial standards on men and telling them what they should be or what they have to be in order to attract a mate just produces a lot of anxiety. When people look in the mirror and see that they aren't that. And it's like, you don't necessarily have to be that in order to live a happy life. But let Andrew tell it. You have to be rich. You have to be funny. You have to be charismatic. You have to have the brain of an Einstein. You know, these unrealistic goals and expectations that a lot of pickup artists kind of impose onto men. And for men who don't necessarily know who they are or have not carved out an identity for themselves, it's really easy for them to fall into this trap of believing you have to be a certain way in order to attract a woman. And that's, you know, it's really sad, man. It's really sad.
Stories and strong and rich with a nice car and a nice apartment. Whereas to be a high value female, you need to be hot. If you're nice, it's a bonus, but it's not even that necessary.
That's it.
If you're a pretty female, even if you're a piece of shit person, you're gonna get messages on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
To be funny and smart and charismatic and interesting with stories and strong and rich with a nice car and a nice apartment. Whereas to be a high value female, you need to be hot.
I find it interesting that he keeps using the term female, which leads me to believe that he's really big into like evolutionary psychology, and he probably draws a lot of connections between his ideal setup for gender roles and how we have evolved over time. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, an alpha man should be like this, and it's a woman's duty, it's her obligation to procreate. It's evolutionarily set up in such a way where women must be below men. I wouldn't be surprised if he buys into that kind of pseudoscience.
That's it.
If you're a pretty female...
So he's saying that in order to be a high value female, you have to be hot and you don't necessarily have to be nice. If that's how you define a high value female, you're going to attract some very toxic individuals.
Nice car and a nice apartment. Whereas to be a high value female, you need to be hot. If you're nice, it's a bonus, but it's not even that necessary.
That's it.
If you're a pretty female, even if you're a piece of shit person, you're going to get messages on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's different. That's it. You're making an entirely different point than what you just said.
As if you're a good-looking man who lives with his mother, you ain't getting any messages. And
Not really.
I think so. I think
that's not necessarily true.
That if you're a good-looking man, that's all you have going for you, I don't think you're going to succeed very well in life. Yeah. I know there's very, very pretty girls who have nothing else going for them that manage to do very, very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know, what does nothing going for them mean? Say you're a good-looking guy, you're 20 years old, you're living in your mom's house, and you're also attending community college to pick up credits so that you can go on to become an engineer. His assumptions are just, I find them odd.
That if you're a good-looking man, that's all you have going for you, I don't think you're going to succeed very well in life. I know there's very, very pretty girls who have nothing else going for them that manage to do very, very well.
Yeah, and there are also pretty girls that have nothing going for them who don't do well, right? And they end up using their looks to get to where they want until they can no longer do that, because looks have a shelf life, right? And no matter how good you look, there are going to be people who refuse to put up with your bullshit because the juice really isn't worth the squeeze. I just find it interesting because there's no nuance.
Do you play chess?
I'm okay at it.
But if you look at the chessboard, right, the queen gets to jump all over the board, and the king has to move one square at a time, and I think that's done very purposefully. If you go to Monaco and you see a yacht and you see a man on that yacht, he had to work his entire life and network his entire life and get up early and deal with stress and tax problems and police problems and work his ass off to buy that boat.
There are many women who work hard as fuck too. You know, it's not just men. It's not just men. You think about the food and hospitality industry, for example. That's overwhelmingly composed of women who work long ass hours for low ass wages and virtually no guarantee that they will be able to move up the chain of command.
What did the girl have to do? The girl who's on that boat, the 19-year-old Ukrainian. She had to get a message on Instagram. Boom.
Ukrainian.
So the man moves one square at a time and the queen just jumps on board. This is the point. Female beauty is extremely valuable.
The thing is, there's a difference between a high-value man and a high-value woman. For me, a high-value woman is what kind of mother is she? What kind of like compassion has she got? You know, has she got integrity?
She's nodding her head because what she's saying feeds into his preconceived notion of what womanhood represents, which is to be domesticated, to be confined to the household under the control of a man. He's going to take her definition and he's going to warp it to match his misogynistic beliefs.
Got morals? Is she loyal?
Right, so he's gonna take what she's saying right now. This is my hunch, and he's gonna bring it all the way over here, and she's gonna try to reel him back in, and he's gonna be like, "No, I want to bring it all the way over here to the extreme." Yeah, I'm getting strong pickup artist vibes.
Qualities, but I feel like men base it on like just an aesthetic level.
I agree with you. If I meet a female, I would like her to be all those things, especially loyal. It's the most important thing for a female to be.
Are you loyal?
Mr. Loyal, man of God, we already talked about church. But the point is that to initially attract a mate, females, the most important thing for them is their looks, whereas a man, I think, is his status, and status is a far more varied spectrum than looks alone.
I think it just depends, man. You got to preface some of these statements because you're making them like, this is fact, this is fact, this is fact. And it's like, no, it's not fact, bro. This shit is complicated. It's, you know.
But the point is that to initially attract a mate, females, the most important thing for them is their looks, whereas a man, I think, is his status, and status is a far more varied spectrum. I agree with you. If I meet a female, I would like her to be all those things, especially loyal. It's the most important thing for a female to be.
Are you loyal?
Mr. Loyal, man of God, we already talked about...
He wants women to be loyal like a dog owner would want their dog to be loyal. So his definition of loyal is not her definition of loyal. They are at odds here.
But the point is that to initially attract a mate, females, the most important thing for them is their looks, whereas a man, I think, is his status, and status is a far more varied spectrum than looks alone. Being good looking alone does not make you a high status male. To be a high status male, you need to have a bunch of things. Initially, if you're just pretty, you're going to get attention. Whereas a man, you need to have a bunch of things to just get attention. Do you understand? Do you agree with my point?
Not always. Listen, there's men that are funny, that aren't that attractive, that can get attention. It's like an energy thing.
I disagree.
You disagree?
I disagree. I know what you're saying. They can get attention, but I don't think anyone will look at a funny guy who lives with his mom.
Well, she's telling you from the vantage point of a woman what she's attracted to and what women are attracted to, and you're telling her, I disagree. It's like, bro, you might want to like take some fucking notes because like she's telling you exactly what it is through the lens of a woman. She's telling you this is, you know, what I notice. And to just like automatically dismiss her is, again, it just touches on the arrogance.
Disagree.
I disagree. I know what you're saying. They can get attention, but I don't think anyone will look at a funny guy who lives with his mom and call him a high value male. Whereas if you get a really...
I don't think anyone would look at anyone and call them a high value male. I'm tired of all this like internet fucking jargon that places unrealistic expectations on men and women to be a certain thing, bro. Nobody uses this kind of language in real life outside of the internet.
Beautiful girl, even if she has nothing else going for her, she'd be considered high value.
I wouldn't say high value, no.
Yeah, we can disagree. That's fine.
Are you a good partner?
And this is the issue, because when people like you and I, when we watch these videos, if we're not careful, we could blur the lines between fiction and reality. And when that happens, when we allow like the internet and these pickup artists to color our vision of reality, that's gonna fuck up like what we have going on in our real life. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to be able to compartmentalize this right here that we're watching. This is not informative. It's not educational. It's entertainment. But a lot of people can't draw that distinction. So my advice to you would be draw that distinction right now.
The best. What makes you the best?
Besides you and the police, I don't often answer questions.
Okay. He's definitely had a police interview in the past.
I don't like to answer open-ended questions because I feel like they're a trap.
Why?
He has serious trust issues, commitment issues, and communication issues that he has not been able to resolve.
Because when you speak a lot, it's how you end up getting trapped, right? It doesn't matter if it's a police interview or anything else. The more you talk, the worse. So I want you to be very, very specific with your parameters within the questioning, because that allows me to answer them in a way which makes me look the best.
I don't know, I feel like...
If you have to treat a date like a police interrogation, you shouldn't be dating. There's something deeper going on in your soul that you gotta exercise. You gotta work that shit out with a therapist, bro. Because when you go on a date, it's one thing to set boundaries with yourself and with other people in terms of the specific information you're willing to divulge or keep close to you. But when you start talking like this, you're gonna come off as like very paranoid and psychotic, you know, like you're not put together, unstable. So y'all just be careful. Be careful. Don't try to apply these, please don't try to apply these techniques on dates.
Like a very...
And if a woman asks you something that you don't want to talk about, say, thanks for asking. You know, that's a sensitive topic for me. And since this is the first date, I would like to give it some time before I open up about that. And the woman will respect that. And if she keeps pushing the envelope, you've already set your boundary. So say to her, let's move on from that. And then start another conversation. That's what I would do if I felt worried that a woman might be trying to like get information out of me to like use it against me or whatever is going through his mind right now.
Very sure of himself would just answer.
You think so? Mm-hmm. If
Because I feel like it's just being calculated.
Okay, a very innocent...
Yeah, and that's a big turnoff. And women are extremely good at reading men, like in general, because they have to be. We want to talk about like evolutionary adaptations that people use in order to keep themselves safe. That is one that I do adhere to, that the reason why women are emotionally more intelligent than men on average is, unless she's a complete airhead, she's gonna know when you're like being calculated, and that's gonna put her on the defensive and make her second guess how she talks to you and how she moves around you. And one thing you don't want is a woman who feels like she has to be careful around you and walk on eggshells, because that's gonna turn into resentment, and that resentment is gonna blow up in your face. So my suggestion when talking to women and interacting with them, no, you don't want to overshare. You don't want to dump all of your problems and all of your emotions onto them. You want to be very careful with that. But you also don't want to be overly calculated, right? You want to be overly calculated at the workplace with people you're forced to interact with. You want to be overly calculated on the basketball court. If you play sports, you want to be over calculated in those settings. In a business setting, but you don't want to be over calculated when you're on dates with people. You don't want to feel like you're calculated. And if you feel like you have to be that way, again, you shouldn't be dating.
Man, would he just answer the police?
Yeah. If he's innocent.
Then you've never dealt with the police, my dear. That's not how it works.
No?
No, of course not.
But he's innocent.
It doesn't mean anything. Innocent and guilty in and of itself is a false paradigm. You have to understand that the world we live in, there's no black and white. There's no such thing. It's all a sliding scale. If they want to find you guilty, they'll find you guilty. I guarantee you sold something to
I wonder why he's harping on this topic of like the police and interrogations. Now I'm starting to think that he could have a criminal record or a criminal history, because it seems like this is a sore spot for him.
a mate on eBay.
Or at the very least for his ego, because I don't know if he allows himself to properly empathize or be compassionate, not only with the people around him, but with himself. Because I would suppose it goes against his, hyper masculine values, but this is all speculation here. I want to be clear about that.
7 years ago, didn't pay tax. Boom, you're going to jail. I'm enjoying this conversation, and I understand every point she's making, and I'm being deliberately abrasive. However, the truth is about the masculine-feminine dynamic is that females like men who are completely in charge and run their life exactly how they want.
I think to a large extent, that is true, but you're not given the complete picture. A lot of women don't like men who are completely in charge all the time. A lot of women like men who share the burden of responsibility, who share the burden of control, because control is a responsibility, and you can't have 100% of control all the time over everything and everyone. That's how you end up becoming a fucking egomaniac. So I would disagree with him.
And they comply and bend to the man's wills and lifestyle. To come along to a woman and say, how do you want
comply,
me to be?
Bend. So it sounds like he's putting the woman in a position where she's being forced into submission. The shit is toxic. I'm not gonna lie.
So that you like me is a death sentence for
this
the
is not good.
relationship.
And if you do, I'm telling you right now, if you practice the shit that he's saying, your relationships, if they even get off the ground, if you're able to even attract the scent of a woman with these beliefs, it's going to blow up in your face, and it's going to end disastrously every time. And you're going to hurt woman after woman after woman. And in the process of doing so, you are going to make yourself numb to receiving other people's emotions, and you're going to become numb to your emotions, and you will never be able to function properly in any sort of relationship, let alone a romantic one. So be very careful with the advice you take from this man, because I'm starting to see the writing on the wall.
So that's how it works.
What kind of man do you want to be?
I want to be a man who lives true to himself, and a man who goes to sleep easy at night, and a man who knows that he's living true to his biological necessities and instincts, and tries his best not to hurt anybody, and leaves a positive impact on the world.
Are your actions congruent with your words? Yeah?
What else would they be?
I don't know. I
That's a
don't know
good
you. So that's
question.
not-
If you're in the opposite position, so say you're dating a woman, and every time you ask her a question, or at least a good portion of the questions you ask her, she responds with a question, that's more often than not that is calculated, and that it's a mind game type of thing. She feels like you're trying to read her, so she's gonna flip the script and try to read you. Yeah, it kind of creeps me out how whenever she asks a question that requires him to let his guard down even a little bit, he responds with a question. So it's kind of like, I'm gonna get you to be vulnerable, I'm gonna gain emotional collateral on you before you get it from me.
Yeah, we're here to know each other. Of course they are. Yeah, I'm a positive man. I'm a positively inspirational and motivating person.
Okay, what do you do that's motivating?
I inspire people to tell the truth, I think.
Okay.
And I think a lot of men live in a world now today where they have to lie.
Do you think?
In fact, I would basically guarantee that 99% of men are lying at least 80% of the time.
Really? Listen.
These are fucking crazy assumptions that he's making. I mean, I understand. I think I understand where he's going with this, which is the idea that masculinity is facing a crisis, and that anything having to do with like masculinity is being shunned in society, seen as toxic or negative. I think he's right about that. And I think right now society isn't doing a very good job at embracing masculinity and identifying the positive aspects about it that have served humanity in great ways, right? And I think he's also addressing how, like, every time men try to lean into their masculinity, there's always someone telling us, like, don't do that. That's toxic. And it's like, hey, hold on. Like, competition isn't always toxic. Being assertive or even aggressive in certain situations is not always toxic. Sometimes it's necessary. But this with the percentages and it's just
I think it's true, because I think that
So men are liars.
men are liars. Women are correct. Men are liars. Women wear makeup because men fall in love with what they see. And men lie because women fall in love with what they hear. Men are liars because men are in constant competition with other men, and they have to find a way to be competitive, and the easiest way to be competitive is to lie. If you can sit there and convince a woman that you're rich because you bought her $100 or £100 meal, that's what you're gonna do.
Yeah, I think if you treat romantic relationships like business transactions, then sure, his logic might be applicable, that the quickest way to get ahead, the most efficient way to get ahead is to lie and be clever. But if you're looking to start a healthy and fully functional relationship with someone who has your back, someone who sees you as their best friend, no, that's terrible advice that you should lie, or it's false to say that men are liars. I think he engages in a lot of projection.
Women believe it, and as long as women are stupid enough to believe it, men are dishonest enough to lie.
For me personally, I'm the type of woman.
That's what people, man.
It's actions rather than words. I don't get like phased by.
Actions can be a lie. You think flowers can't be a lie? You think flowers,
that's a good point.
25 pounds on a phone call to some dickhead?
It depends, bro. If that's you and you're the one who's fucking lying and you're speaking from your perspective, then, you're a liar. But, some guys, when they go out and buy flowers for their ladies, they're not doing it to deceive or manipulate their partners into believing that they care about them. I think maybe you've done that a couple of times, or maybe a couple of women have done that to you. But, it doesn't always work the other way around, bro. And this is why I think it's so important to seek therapy to get some of your unresolved trauma figured out. Because when you don't, you can become very jaded and you could get stuck in a vicious cycle of bad thoughts, that just warp your perspective on the world.
Dude, can't be a lie.
No, but there's some like good men that it wouldn't even enter their head that that's a lie. So I feel like everything you're doing is just very calculated.
Life is calculated. All
It's
men
not.
lie.
It's really not.
Men lie
It's
because,
actually not.
life
I think
at the upper echelons, at the highest echelons of life is absolutely and utterly calculated.
I believe we live in an unequal system that does require us to calculate, because we're all competing for scarce resources. So in that vein, I agree with him. But this idea that we should be calculated, or that in order to attract the right partner, it is necessary for us to be like overly calculated, it just doesn't ring true based on my experience and my observations of people's relationships, of healthy relationships. That shit looks effortless, and it feels effortless when you're in a good relationship. It doesn't feel calculated. It can feel thoughtful, but that's different from calculated.
Single man at the top echelon of life is a calculated man. You don't get there by accident.
Okay, so do you want to get to the top?
I'm already at the top echelon of man. And when you're at the top echelon of man, it's a very, very calculated process. You don't get there by accident. Nothing good in life happens on accident. When you say men don't lie, because you believe in that.
You think about people who are born billionaires or millionaires. That's kind of, that's a roll of the dice, right? That's random. Technically, those things do happen by accident.
Actions. I'm saying a lot of actions are lies.
Am I a high value woman in your eyes?
You're very good looking. So I would say, yeah, absolutely. You're beautiful. You seem like you're a good person. You seem intelligent. You're not stupid. So I'd say you're a high value woman, but your actions dictate that, right? The most important actions a woman can
But
undertake.
you just said actions are lies.
Loyalty. Every man out here knows that disloyalty is the most disgusting thing a female could ever do to her man.
But are you loyal?
Let's not pretend that male loyalty and female loyalty are the same thing.
Here we go. Double standards and contradictions. The further we get into this interview, the more I pick up on, these incongruities in what he's saying. It's hard to describe. And I know I'm pausing the video a whole lot, but there's just so much here.
But loyalty is loyalty.
No, but they're not the same thing, are they?
Why is it not?
Because men and women are not the same.
We are not the same. You are correct there.
Okay, so we agree.
No, but I'm not agreeing to people being dishonest, cheaters, liars. He's deluded.
Why do you think men and women are different?
We carry children.
I think she's slightly deluded as well, but yeah, for the most part, she's right. He is deluded. But the question then becomes, is it purposeful? Is he being intentionally deluded, or is it something that he just believes in his core? And I don't know, that could be part of the allure with him that people just don't know. For me, it doesn't really matter whether his shtick is a shtick or whether it represents who he truly is, because a lot of people are going to buy into the stupid shit that he's saying, and they're going to try to practice it, and they're going to fall flat on their face.
We nurture, we're, compassionate, emotional beings.
Yeah.
At their best, she's speaking about the gold standard of womanhood, right? But not all women are compassionate. Not all women are nurturing. Not all women are decent human beings. Just like not all men are, compassionate, nurturing, or decent human beings.
Men are very different.
I agree.
However, I don't think it's very fair for men to sit with the opinion that it's acceptable for men to cheat.
I didn't even say that, but I think if we, as intelligent, logical beings, as you are and as I am, if we agree that men and women are not the same, then our paradigms on how we act and act.
If she continues to believe that men are very different from the description she gave, involving those positive traits of womanhood, she will never find a long-term partner. Because she's going to be going in with the assumption that men are not compassionate, men are not nurturing, and who wants to be with a guy who's not compassionate or nurturing? Maybe some women do, based on, their own needs and values, and maybe they prioritize money over those types of qualities, but eventually, whether they know it or not, they're going to get tired of those men too, and they're going to leave them.
In certain regards, cannot be seen as the same.
So if I'm with you,
Correct. Yeah.
and I then cheat.
That's disgusting. I can't believe you even said that on YouTube. You see, you just said that on YouTube. I'm sorry to the world. Please don't listen to this.
No, but it happens.
No, it doesn't. No,
No,
it
but it
doesn't
does.
happen. No, no,
People
no, no. Please don't say this on YouTube. You're going to corrupt the youth. I'm sorry for her. I'll pray for her. These things can't be said. Women can't do that. It's disgusting.
Women can't do that, so it's a double standard.
It's a double standard. But life is full of double standards.
So it's all right. So he always goes back to, but life is full of double standards. But in life, everybody calculates. But in life, everybody lies. Yeah, then I guess, bro, what's the point of having a moral system at all? Let's just live in anarchy and take advantage of each other while we're here. No, that's an unacceptable way to defend your worldview. Unless you just come out right and say that, then I can't challenge him on what he fundamentally believes. But it strikes me that he is, what makes him difficult to pin down in terms of his authenticity is that he keeps transitioning from being a caricature to being his authentic self, and there is a lot of overlap between those two. So I do not believe, based on the first 15 minutes I've seen from this interview, that he is a complete character. I don't believe that. I think the shit that he's saying, he really truly believes 85% of it. 15% he says for shock value. But yeah, I do think he's true and authentic to who he is.
Standards.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean listen, regardless with your philosophies and everything that you keep
It's not my philosophies.
No, but I'm saying, okay, life is full of double standards.
Correct.
I understand that. But in a relationship,
Correct.
it's a partnership.
Yes.
Right. You and me, we're together.
Since when?
You know what I'm saying. When you're trying to build
That
a
was
partnership
smooth.
and a life with someone,
Yeah.
the end goal is you two together.
Agreed.
I like
why
that
cheat?
one.
I know. I understand where you're coming from. My point is that relationships and life is full of double standards as a whole. A man's going to pay for everything everywhere you go, right? This is duty as a man. Do you agree?
No, I do like traditional.
Okay, so you agree. So you're traditional, right? So if you want to talk about traditional, let's talk about traditions.
So she supports patriarchy to the extent that she doesn't have to pay for a meal. This woman seems utterly confused about what she's looking for in a partner and what she can offer in a committed relationship.
Had more than one woman. Every single king, every single emperor, every single sultan, every single conqueror since the dawn of human time had more than one woman. All of them. Every single one. Read a history.
Yeah, but we're not fucking conquerors and kings and emperors, man. Oh, man.
Book. Read the Bible. It's all in there. The Quran, all of it. You want to talk about tradition, it's all there. The only reason your mind is different, the only reason you believe differently is because of society. Society's come along and told you something.
Yeah, but society.
He's a gaslighter. He's saying you don't even believe what you believe in. Fuck me. He said society has programmed your mind.
Like the world evolves, things change.
The world evolves, yeah, that's right. Now men cut their dicks off and their chicks. You believe in this shit? You got the you believe in any of this crap? It's all a lie.
I feel like life's about choices.
Life is about choices, correct. My point is this. If I had a woman, I would decide not to cheat because I decide. However, I would not see my infidelity as nearly anywhere near even 1% as disgusting as female infidelity, because female infidelity involves emotion. You will not sleep with a man you don't like. I can sleep with a woman I don't like. So
that's not true. That is not true. I know women who have cheated with everybody, whether at a party, at a bar, men that they just met for the first time. Women don't have to have an emotional connection to cheat on their partner. That is simply false.
A different thing. I can be head over heels in love with a woman, ready to die for her, ready to take a bullet for her, protect her, give her all the money in the world, make sure she has a beautiful family, a nice big house, all of it. And I'll still that bitch. Watch me. A woman won't do that. So don't lie to me and pretend. No.
That is not true. That is not true. I mean, did you watch the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial? Like, she was cheating on him left and right with Elon Musk, with James Franco, I think that's his name. And what more can you want from a man than what Johnny Depp has to offer? I mean, it's fucking Captain Jack Sparrow, for God's sakes, right? You would think that if there's any man you wouldn't cheat on, by your logic, it would be Johnny Depp. But it just goes to show that men and women have way more in common than we do, these differences. But let Andrew Tate tell it. Women are an entirely different species.
You won't. Any woman who will sit here and say, I can dudes and not care about them is fundamentally broken. Her soul is broken.
Yeah, well, she's broken then, but she's
that was a character part, I think.
Don't lie to me and pretend.
This is like the shock value when he like gets over dramatic and super emotional.
Oh, you won't. Any woman who will sit here and say, I can dudes and not care about them is fundamentally broken. Her soul is broken.
Yeah, well, she's broken.
Her soul is broken. See, like, and that's what's interesting about a lot of these pickup artists who promote their version of stoicism is that they seem to be some of the most emotional creatures on earth. Always yelling, always flailing their arms, always got to puff their chest and, come off as the biggest man in the room. I got the biggest dick. Yeah, that doesn't strike me as being very stoic.
She's still doing it.
Well, if she's broken, she ain't anywhere near me. I don't want no broken bitch near me.
I'm definitely sure women would cheat on you.
You think so? Well, those are the kind of women I will not associate with. Females shouldn't even want to cheat. And the reason women can't cheat is because there's no way to ensure paternity if a female's cheating. Modern science in and of itself, just because you can now find out who the dad is, doesn't undo 5,000 years of human evolution in which a female had to be loyal to one man so we knew exactly who the father was. If a man has multiple partners, you know who the mother is, you know who the father is.
There is so much inaccuracy in what he's saying that it would take 5 hours for me to break down this video. So I'm gonna just let a lot of the shit he just said kind of ride because this video is getting a little long and I might have to cut it up into 3 parts.
A woman has multiple partners. Nobody knows who the dad is. Nobody wants to look after the kid. And a woman with a child without a father or without a man around in the ancient world was toast.
He talks a lot of nothing.
I would never ever be with a girl who cheats on me, and I would never ever.
You can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes.
You wouldn't know whether she was cheating on you or not. I'm telling you right now, but with your attitude, you're gonna attract women that cheat on you. Yeah. With his attitude, the the reason why he's so animated about this particular topic is because it's happened to him before.
Yes, I
No,
can.
you can't.
Of course I can.
No, you can't. Like, because the thing is with, like, this is just an assumption. I'm assuming, you know, you have a nice
This is not
life.
wrong.
No,
It's
but
not
I'm
wrong.
saying you have a nice life, you live a good lifestyle. Women will just...
If I had to guess, the reason he's so obsessed with maintaining control and dominance over women is because in his previous relationships, he's been rejected and abandoned over and over and over again. And instead of taking his L's and going back to the drawing board and reflecting on what the hell he did to attract that kind of woman, he just said to himself, no, I'm not going to be abandoned again. I'm not going to be rejected again. But that's the thing about love. When you open yourself up to intimacy and love, you essentially open yourself up to pain. But he doesn't want to feel that pain. So he comes off as someone who is very confident, but in all reality, he's afraid of getting hurt. Although that might not be transparent to most of his viewers, it is transparent to me because I can see part of myself in him, which scares me. But it also gives me hope because it shows that I have grown, I have evolved, and I've been able to step outside of myself and gain perspective on the world, which it looks like he's not at that point in his development. And considering the size of his audience and his growing popularity, I don't think he has an incentive to be self-reflective, which is unfortunate because the only way I could see this ending is with him just crashing and burning. But he'll probably make a lot of money on the way out. I don't know this fucking guy, but these are my speculations. This is my intuition telling me this.
See you as an opportunity.
If I was,
Do you
if I was a
understand?
dumbass, yeah, correct.
Yeah, but this one said, but your attitude is what keeps a woman also. Like, do you think a high-value woman is going to sit there and tolerate a man condescending and talking to her and being like, we're different and we're this, we're that, because
No.
we're not? A woman knows how... A woman...
I don't think he wants a woman that is high value. I think he wants a woman who is unsure of herself, who lacks confidence and self-esteem, and who can easily be manipulated. Those are the types of women that gravitate towards guys like this. Ironically, guys like this end up breaking women and then discarding them. So it makes sense that he would say, I don't want a broken woman. I don't want a broken soul.
knows her worth is not going to tolerate that.
As professionals, we discussed the infidelity of females, and I said that female infidelity is more disgusting than male infidelity. And I think that the world agrees with me. History agrees with me. The Bible agrees with me. The Quran agrees with me. Every single book you can read from history says that females who are promiscuous.
But that's not the point you just made. He's good. He's good. That's not the point you just made, my brother. The point that you just made was that female promiscuity is more disgusting than male promiscuity, and then you attach that logic to the Bible, and then you say, well, the Bible says that females have been promiscuous. Yeah, sure, it says that males have been promiscuous too, but that's not the point you were just making, and yet you're trying to connect the two. This shit, it strikes me as very dishonest. I'll keep it a buck. He strikes me as a very dishonest guy.
Should either be stoned to death or at least cast out from society. Female promiscuity is a brand new concept, and this is brand new amongst society. The idea that women can sleep with a bunch of...
Yeah, but even that argument is the idea that there were harsher penalties for female promiscuity in biblical times is absolutely true. Stonings, for example. And with that being said, we have to consider who wrote the Bible, right? And the people who were being centered in the Bible was men. Who did they make their God? A man. So he's not... Yeah, I don't know where he's going with this.
Dudes, and it doesn't matter. It's a brand new idea. 30, 40 years old, maybe. Even today, nobody respects it, deep down. When a girl shoots a girl she doesn't like, you know the first thing she does? She says she's a... You know why? Because they know deep down that female promiscuity is disgusting, it's revolting. So the whole idea of a female wanting to sleep with more than one man at a time is haram. And they know it inside of their souls, inside of their hearts.
I don't think so.
Yes, they do. As does a man. No. Whereas a man, if he sleeps with a bunch of chicks, doesn't matter. Who cares?
So would you be with me if I'd slept with over 50 men? I'm a high value woman, right? You said it yourself.
Yeah, that's a character part. That's a 15%.
Can you be high value if 50 men have slept with you?
What if I've just been single for a long time?
No, unacceptable.
Why is it unacceptable?
A body count is probably the #1 most easiest way to judge the value of a female. I actually think that 19... No. I'm gonna...
In a sense, I think a body count is a good way to judge a male or a female. So I agree to a certain extent. He takes little factoids and like brings them all the way to one extreme though. So I just
say this.
Can't fuck with it. It's like I want to agree with certain points, but I know that if I agree with this point, he's going to take that point and bring me all the way over here. And it's like, bro, no, it doesn't stop reaching for straws, bro. This point that we agree on does not go all the way over here. It is what it is.
Like if you go to Dubai and you look around the bar, half the people aren't having fun. They're just purely trying to get Insta stories to look like they're having fun. So it's pure like, ha, 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 ha. Okay, so I think that a lot of people now are doing things not because they enjoy them, because other people will think they're having fun, and it's more about creating envy as opposed to actually enjoying yourself. Right. If you go on a really fun night out, you don't take your phone out. So when I see someone who went on a night out...
I agree with him that a lot of people who go out, while they're out, they're constantly taking pictures, taking videos about what they're doing and sharing it on the internet. It's because A, they want attention, or B, because maybe they're marketing themselves because they're a social media influencer, or C, because they're trying to make other people envious of where they are.
And took 20 stories dancing and laughing and having a great time, I know they're bored.
Yeah, they're not in the moment.
Do you know what I mean? Because if you really have a great night out, you don't take any stories and you forget to check your phone. Social media has completely and utterly changed the world. It's changed the way that we function, it's changed the way that we go out, it's changed even the places we go. Social media now runs the world. We live in an attention society, and people will do anything for attention because attention is a currency, and you can turn attention into money. Jake Paul is not rich because he's a boxer. He's rich because he used the attention he gets and monetized it via boxing.
This guy is very smart, which leads me to believe that you really got to watch out for guys like this, because he's extremely smart and he knows exactly what he's doing. What he's doing might not be ethical, and it might be playing on the fears and anxieties of young men with bad social skills and who lack the skills to communicate properly with women and attract them. Nevertheless, he knows what he's doing, and he's probably making a killing off of putting out his content.
So in the attention economy we now live in, you have to understand that your attention is valuable, especially as a man, and women are out here today trying to extract your attention from you without returning anything. That's what the male-female friendship is.
See, he takes it where something, I mean, fuck, beautifully put. His analysis on social media as it pertains to marketing and how that creates supply and demand. And then he goes to the fucking deep end.
Attention from you without returning anything.
It's like if you go on a ride with someone and they're like, hey, let's ride around the Grand Canyon. You're like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's go. And they take you on a ride in this Ferrari and you're just having a good time, and you see them book it towards the edge of a cliff, and you're like, whoa, hold on. I didn't agree to let you drive me off a cliff. I agreed to let you drive me around the Grand Canyon. And while you're saying that to them, they just drive you off the cliff. That's the energy I'm sensing here. If he's as big as I think he is, based on my suggested videos, he could be driving young men off a cliff.
In the old days, man would give attention in return for sex. But nowadays, men just give attention and don't get any sex back. And that's what you have to be very, very careful of. Your attention is extremely valuable. So for all the men out there, if you're following a woman and you have zero chance of fucking her and she ain't replying to your DMs, stop following her.
See, and he goes back to like the reasonable prescription on how to stop yourself from being led on by a woman. Like, what? It's it's wild the way he does this
Very
shit.
careful of. Your attention is extremely valuable. So
That's not inherently bad advice. Be careful with your attention because it's extremely valuable. If you are interested in engaging in a sexual relationship with a woman and you get the sense that she's leading you on, move on. Don't follow her on social media if you know that's what you want and she's not willing to give it up. Like, that is sound advice.
don't get any sex back. And that's what you have to be very, very careful of. Your attention is extremely valuable. So for all the men out there, if you're following a woman and you have zero chance of fucking her and she ain't replying to your DMs, stop following her. Like, when's the last time you truly, truly lived in the moment?
I personally live in the moment a lot.
No, but that's a good thing, right? That's a beautiful thing. And that's actually an asset. Like, my brother is very similar to that. But the problem is, if you live very, very much in the moment and you're not on your phone, I feel like, and I can only talk from the masculine perspective, you're not competitive. Because as a man, you need to be doing things, talking to people, making money, moving things, so you have to be on your phone all the time.
Really like how you just delivered what you said, but I just find it crazy how we've just sat and said about people need to live in the moment and that, but then like you've sold courses trying to explain to people how to be like that. It's just aspire for this.
I understand what you mean, but unfortunately, and it's an unfortunate reality of the world, is that it's player versus player. Like, if you go to a video game, if you play Call of Duty, right? There's 20 people in there and we're all trying to kill each other.
Yeah, this is not somebody y'all want to look up to because he's basically telling you straight to your face, listen, I know that my business practices are unethical and that I'm sending people mixed signals, but if they're dumb enough to buy into what it is that I'm selling them, then hey, supply and demand. It's player versus player. Either you're playing the game or you're letting the game play you. I mean, he's being transparent.
And the world is very, very similar financially. I'm not saying we should be out here killing each other, but I'm trying to explain that there's a certain amount of resource and everyone's trying to get it. And I understand your perspective, but your perspective is feminine, as it should be because you're a woman, right? But the masculine imperative and the masculine perspective is you have to understand that life is war. It's a war for the female.
No, it's not. What the fuck are you talking about? Life is war. What? The shit that he says is so like off the wall, fabricated and untrue that it's hard to like pin him down. Like, what are you gonna tell someone like this who is so diluted? Like, no, dude, life is not a war. There are spots and areas where we can incorporate compassion for each other, consideration, where we can look out for each other's best interests. But he does not, this is not how he sees life.
Female you want, it's a competition. Every man's trying to get her. It's a war for the car you want. It's a war for the money you want. It's a war for the status. It's a war. Masculine life is war. If you're a man who doesn't view life as war, you're going to lose. So as a man, you have to wake up and think, okay, everything I want, other men want. I have to outcompete every other man to get it. So how am I going to do that? Am I going to do that by living in the moment, ignoring my phone, having a fun picnic?
Do you believe in...
So in his world, there is no room for men to be compassionate, thoughtful, considerate, and supportive. The role of the man is to conquer, dominate, and exploit. You know, all those mushy qualities we could reserve for women because they're going to be beneath us anyway. He's showing strong psychopathic tendencies. You know, I don't like to pathologize people. First of all, I'm not a licensed mental health professional, so I don't like to pathologize the personalities of anyone, let alone YouTube celebrities. However, he's showing textbook psychopathic tendencies. A psychopath often displays traits and behaviors that are cold, manipulative, antisocial, and narcissistic. These tendencies have been linked to early childhood experiences, including maltreatment, rejection, and lack of a parental affection. However, the exact causes are not well understood. People with psychopathic traits have an increased risk for violence and criminal behavior, but not all psychopaths are violent criminals. Let's look at more specific traits and let's see if he fits the description. Superficial charm, puffed up self-esteem. I think he checks a box for that. Deceitfulness. We've seen his deceitfulness on display in this interview a few times. Shallow emotions, boredom and need for stimulation. History of shady conduct. I don't know enough about his background. Riddled of contradictions. We've seen that. So I don't know.
men's mental health. You are kind of like the problem in society in the sense of
Thank you.
fast car, women, lifestyle. No, but it is. This is the problem.
It's not my problem.
I'm not saying it's your problem directly, but I'm saying this is the problem. Yes, all men probably want to aspire for that, but do you see the pressure there is on men?
Completely. It is much harder to be a man than be a woman.
Okay, so what's your thoughts on men's mental health?
I agree. It's much harder to be a man than be a woman, which is basically what you just said. Society's expectations of men is much higher than the societal expectations of females. I agree. Much more is expected of us. I agree. It's a harder game. Just like every other video game on Earth, it's a harder game, but if you complete it, you get...
Honestly, I've been recording for quite some time, so I might put out a part 3 to this. All right, y'all. So, sorry I'm stopping the video so short, but I've already recorded over 2 hours of me analyzing Andrew Tate, and quite frankly, I just have shit to do. So, what I'm gonna do is edit and upload parts 1 and parts 2 of my reaction to this video, and on another day I will pick up where I left off. So with that being said, make sure you check out part 1, part 2, and part 3. All right.